Please drink responsibly.
Pardon the interruption, but I'm Frank Isola in Milwaukee, just days after co-hosting from Minneapolis.
I'm Tony Kornheiser. Where's next? Sheboygan? Is that where you're going?
Oshkosh.
Cedar Rapids?
Oshkosh.
Oshkosh. Pick up a pair of overalls.
That's on the way home.
Right? Aren't Oshkosh? I think they were famous for making overalls a long time ago, if they're not still. Yeah. Welcome to PTI,
That's
boys
right.
and girls. Wilbon is off today, so I am joined by our great friend from the starting lineup on Sirius XM, Mr. Frank Isola. Wow. And we begin today with the Toronto Blue Jays getting their first win in the ALCS by pounding Seattle last night, 13-4. The Blue Jays hit 5 home runs. They were all over Seattle's starter, George Kirby, by the third inning. Seattle had won the first 2 games and gone back home, presumably in the driver's seat. So, Frank, does this result change how you see this series?
You don't win 94 games like the Blue Jays did, and the way they outclassed the Yankees, you're not going to give up after losing 2 home games. And, Seattle's been their home away from home. They've scored 34 runs there in the 4 games they've played. That includes the 13. And let's face it, Tony, it all begins and ends with Vladimir Guerrero, who was so good last night, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I loved when his dad used to hit barehanded. He uses gloves, but he could hit like his father. I mean, he is so dangerous at the plate. I love the fact that he could have gotten the hit for the cycle, but as he was rounding second, I think he said, you know what, let me just stop here. I'll probably get thrown out. And who knows, maybe I can get injured. But their offense finally came to life, and I think it was big because they trailed in this game. They came back and won, and you knew what was going to happen. And they're going to have Max Scherzer going, and Max Scherzer has struggled in September. But you know what? In moments like this, I wonder if he could rise to the occasion one more time. It might be his last ever postseason start. Maybe he can get it done.
So it's interesting that you would say you knew it would happen, because I didn't know it would happen. This changes my view a little bit.
All right.
Because of the way Toronto won, because of the way they pounded Seattle at that point. But let's look at this. Yesterday on the show, I said I thought Toronto had a better chance of making up ground against Seattle than I thought Milwaukee did against the Dodgers, because Toronto hits the ball better. But they are down. They're on the road down 2-0, and down 2-0 in that game in the first inning. Julio Rodriguez hits a 2-run home run in the first inning. So if I'm on Toronto, maybe I'm thinking to myself, is this it? They responded like champions. As you said, Vlad Guerrero went 4 for 4. He hadn't had a hit in the series. I think the team was batting 131, and last night the team batted 409. They had 5 home runs. They had 4 doubles. I mean, this is what they're supposed to do. This is what they're built to do. But I don't find it remarkable that the series is 2-1. Most series in the third game are 2-1. And I don't find it remarkable that Toronto won on the road, because in both LCSs, only the road teams have won. The trouble for Seattle, I think, down the road is if they lose one more and they have to go back to Toronto. Because Toronto behaved last night like they did against the Yankees. And that's scary.
Vlad Guerrero was 0 for 7 with 6 groundouts in the series before he came to life last night. And I know that you love Alejandro Kirk. If Seattle's got the big dumper, Toronto's got the little dumper.
Yeah,
how about
small
that
dumper.
guy? And
small
the home run that he hit last night. Yep. He's a lot of fun. All right, let's move to the NLCS, and one weakness in the Dodgers' dominance so far, Shohei Ohtani. He's one of the greatest hitters in the world, and he's also just 2 for 25 with 12 strikeouts since the wild card round. Shohei says he doesn't think his recent return to the mound has hurt him at the plate. Tony, how concerned should the Dodgers be about Ohtani's hitting slump? A lot, a little, or not at all?
Well, I would point to what you just said about Vladimir Guerrero Jr. last night. 0 for 7 and then 4 for 4. Because sometimes it's the pitchers. It's not the hitters. Maybe Shohei Ohtani will find a pitch tonight that he loves. He drills it out of the park and it lands on the freeway. I mean, I would say, I'm tempted to say that the Dodgers should be a little bit concerned, but they're up 2-0. Maybe they don't have to be concerned. His recent at-bats are discouraging. It's a 2 for 25 against good teams, against the Phillies, against the Brewers. I mean, and the 12 strikeouts. And if you watch him at the plate, he sometimes seems to be flailing at the ball except when he's taking a called third strike very often from lefties. I bring up the same thing that you just brought up, Frank. I wonder, has the pitching changed Ohtani, when he gets to the plate? Because before he pitched at all in this series, he was 3 for 9 for 2 home runs. And since then, it's the 2 for 25. And I was given a statistic today that when he pitched during the regular season, however long the duration was, even if it was just 1 inning, that the next game, his batting average was 147.
Yeah, I'm going to say a little bit, just because, he took batting practice on the field at Dodger Stadium, and they say he rarely does that. So clearly it's something that he's thinking about. And, I remember covering years ago when, Barry Bonds was playing for the Pirates. Great hitter, struggled in the playoffs. Aaron Judge, the Yankee fans, they're ready to jump off the George Washington Bridge because he's struggling. Look what he did against the Blue Jays in Game 3. Guys do eventually come to life. Here's something about Ohtani. 2 times already, he's made a huge impact without having to swing the bat. He's been intentionally walked, Game 4 against the Phillies and then Game 1 against the Brewers to load the bases. Mookie Betts ends up walking, even though Mookie didn't get a hit. So even though Ohtani is struggling, they're putting him on base, and both of those runs ended up being used. By the way, Mookie Betts, thus far, 2 walks with the bases loaded. The record for the postseason is 3, and a guy that Jim Palmer, has also been walked twice with the bases loaded in the postseason. A little interesting stat there.
Really? That's weird. Yeah. All right, let's go to the Thursday night game. Aaron Rodgers at 41 will start against Joe Flacco at 40. This is only the 4th time since 1950 the 2 quarterbacks over the age of 40 will start against each other. And the previous 3 times were all Tom Brady against Drew Brees. Frank, is this a fun curiosity to you, or does this matchup have real appeal?
It's a lot of fun to me. Come on, how often do you see this? You just gave the stat how rare it is. And let's face it, too, for Aaron Rodgers, think about what happened to him the last 2 years in New York. A lot of turnovers, sacked all the time, and a lot of losing, and he was also hurt. And Tony, in New York, they were giving Aaron Glenn a lot of praise for making Aaron Rodgers fly cross country to tell him essentially to kick rocks, right? You look at the way the Jets are struggling. Aaron Rodgers lands in Pittsburgh, and right now, I still expect Baltimore. I think they could right the ship. Maybe if Joe Burrow comes back, Cincinnati could go on a bit of a run here. But right now, they're the class of that division. Aaron Rodgers is in a really good position to make it back to the playoffs after 2 disastrous years in New York. And since he's gone, it's actually worse. So I'm interested in it because you don't see this very often. And listen, Joe Flacco needs to hold down the fort because right now, Cincinnati certainly teetering.
Yeah, I'm glad that I have the chance to talk about this because as the oldest working human being in the United States of America, I laugh at 40 and 41. And I will undoubtedly tonight sit in front of the TV set until I fall asleep. I'll be wearing slippers and holding up my AARP card. Look, I think that this would have more appeal if Rodgers were still in Green Bay and Flacco were still in Baltimore because they won Super Bowls there. Flacco, this is a move out of desperation to bring Flacco onto Cincinnati because they're 0-4 since Burrow got hurt. But in the second half of the first game he played in last week, he was 21 out of 30. So he can still throw it. But I agree with you that the referendum here is on Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers. They're 4-1, but here's who they beat. They beat the Jets, who stink, right? They beat New England before New England turned the corner and got good. Yeah. They beat Minnesota, but Carson Wentz was the quarterback, and they just beat Cleveland with Dylan, whatever his name is. Let me get his name here. I don't even know his name. I forgot his last name. Dylan Gabriel, all right? So there's not, Frank, there's not a signature win there. And this won't be a signature win because Cincinnati isn't any good. So Rodgers is having a very good year, not just for being 41, for being 31. I think his ranking, his rating is 8th in the whole league. But are they good? Are they good? How good are they? Let's take a break. Coming up, how have the Falcons gone from one of the worst defenses in the NFL to one of the best? We will ask Booger McFarland.
No Trey Henderson tonight, by the way, for the Bengals. We'll also ask him how he's sizing up Saturday's games between 6th-ranked SEC teams.
Dylan Gabriel, Oregon, right? Played at Oregon. Got the job.
Shedeur Sanders knows that name.
Not Roman Gabriel. No, not the angel Gabriel.
No,
Dylan
Dylan.
Gabriel. And not Bob Dylan.
Pardon the Interruption is presented by the refreshing taste of Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea. Please drink responsibly. Part of Happy Hour.
Let's get back into some football with ESPN NFL and college football analyst Booger McFarland, today wearing a shirt from the San Francisco Golf Club, which I have played. Let's start with this. The Steelers visit the Bengals tonight. The Steelers defense, which was supposed to be so great, struggled in weeks 1 and 2. But it's been much more effective of late, having at least 5 sacks in each of their last 3 games. What have you noticed there about this improvement?
Well, Tony, sometimes there's no magic formula. Guys just start to play better. You know, they brought in some veterans this offseason, Darius Slay, Jalen Ramsey. Those guys have started to play better. One of the guys they drafted up front, Keanu Benton, he's playing better. He had a sack and a half. Derek Harmon, their first-round pick this year, he had a knee injury early on. He's starting to come along. So oftentimes it's nothing magic. Their best players are starting to make plays. There is one guy, though, I want to single out. They got this linebacker, Nick Herbert. He is all over the place, and he's a rookie. And so for a guy who's that young to be out there making plays like that, to me, that's something that's been very exciting to see.
All right, let's stick with defense. Falcons had a really big win the other night. You know, last year their defense, it's, near the bottom of the NFL. Now they're ranked number 1 in total defense. Why is this happening? How is this happening with the Falcons, Booger?
Or everything's anew. Remember that. They got a new defensive coordinator in Jeff Ulbrich. And to me, that's been the whole key. He's a more aggressive guy. Like, he loves to be aggressive with his fronts. And so now you got a new defensive coordinator. That means new schemes. And you got a bunch of young rookies. Jalen Walker, James Pierce Jr. You got this rookie safety, Billy Bowman out of Oklahoma. Those guys are starting to make plays. You sprinkle in the addition of Leonard Floyd. That's how a defense goes from one of the worst at getting to the quarterback, pressuring everyone, to one of the best. It's a new scheme, it's new energy, it's new focus, and it's starting to show on the field. I just hope they can keep it up and give this offense not a lot of opportunities, because Bijan Robinson is one of the best players in all of football, and the more they get stops on defense, the more we get to see Bijan Robinson.
All right, let's move to college football. In the SEC, you got a lot of games between ranked teams. Got LSU, Vanderbilt, Ole Miss, Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama. Which one or ones do you feel most confident about?
I would probably say Alabama and Tennessee, and that's because of the quarterback, Ty Simpson. Like, everybody remembers what happened against Florida State in week 1. But since then, Ty Simpson has played the quarterback position as well as anyone. And I'm not just talking about being a game manager. He's putting the football down the field. There was a 4th and 8 against Missouri. He threw it 29 yards down the field, and you couldn't have walked it out there any better. He's playing the quarterback position as well as anyone. And that's the reason I think I feel more confident and more comfortable picking Alabama over Tennessee, because of how he's playing. As far as Georgia and Ole Miss, I think there's going to be a little bit of get back in there. All right, Kirby remembers a couple things from the last meeting, primarily that Ole Miss beat him. And then there's also a comment that Lane made this week saying, he was asked about who's burning more calories on the sideline, and Lane said, and I quote, "I saw a picture of Kirby. It doesn't look like he's burning too many calories." So I think all of that's going to be in the back of Coach Smart's mind. The loss last year, the lack of burning calories this year. I guarantee you Georgia's going to want to put a little bit on Ole Miss. And as far as LSU against Vanderbilt, I honestly have no idea. Vanderbilt's favorite, go figure. First time they've been favored against LSU in God knows how long. But you got to give credit to Vanderbilt. They're one of the best teams in the SEC. Clark Lear, I love him as a coach. He has a fundamental tenacity and a culture that he's built in Vanderbilt, and they're a really, really good football team. I think that game is a toss-up, so I have no confidence in which way to lean there.
I will just point out before we get to the last question that over your left shoulder is an LSU helmet, and you went to LSU, and I think you're not giving us the whole stuff on LSU. Let's get to the last question. 4-1 Louisville visits number 2 Miami. In any sense, does this smell even faintly like an upset to you?
Not at all. That would be like somebody telling me that it smells like Wilbon is going to join us in this segment when he knows he's not. Like, there's no chance whatsoever. Miami's biggest strength on their team is their defensive end, Bain and Mesidor. Like, those guys are going to be top picks. The weakness of Louisville is their offensive line, primarily their tackles. And I get it. Jeff Brom is one of the best coaches as far as a big game coach that we've seen in Louisville. It's a Friday night. I understand. But when your biggest weakness is opposing the other team's biggest strength, to me, that's a mismatch. And I suppose the weather could be a factor. Turnovers could always be a factor. But I think this smells like Miami blowout at home, and the Louisville Cardinals are not going to have any magic on Friday night.
Booger, as always, thank you so much.
Thanks, Booger.
Always enjoy. Frank, glad to have you along for the ride, sir.
Ha!
Thank you,
Let's
brother.
take one last break. Still to come, Indiana backs up the Brinks truck for Kirk Cignetti.
And will Jason Kidd back away from his idea of starting Cooper Flagg at point guard? At least someone's happy to see me. Good.
We're all happy to see you. We're all happy to see you
Thank
in
you.
Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Very happy to see you. And later you can